How's everybody doing? Ready to open for any questions you may have.
You've talked some, Jeff, about the difficulties of trying to schedule during a pandemic, and just sort of what a brave new world it's been. I was wondering if you could take us through the process of kind of how this game came to be.
We had a couple of open dates, a couple of possibilities where we could play, and just trying to figure out. Everyone's going through it right now with cancellations, with protocols, different things. And so we, had about 3 teams that we had been in communication with. And after the game against Drexel, I made the decision, it's probably Sunday night, Monday morning, as far as them meeting the testing protocols, having the same date available, that this was the best game for us. Again, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. If you look around the country, you've seen a lot of cancellations. We're at a point right now, it seems like every day the COVID numbers are increasing. And so you're seeing some disruption, really in all sports right now. And so it makes it difficult. I mean, I had a coach from a Power 5 text me Tuesday morning and ask me if we would be willing to come to their place and play Thursday. And so it's a challenge out there. Everyone's kind of scrambling, trying to look. And so for us, we kind of keep our eyes open and trying to see, what's going on out there, who possibly, has some open dates in case we get to a point where one of our games becomes disrupted.
Jeff, how did you decide on 5 non-conference games as the number that you wanted to play?
We had a decision where we could play in an MTE that gets you to 27. If you don't play in an MTE, you get 5 non-conference games. You can play 25 games. Obviously, the league was doing 20. And so we decided that we want to, as far as trying to give our guys the best experience, we chose not to do an MTE. And so we just chose to stick with the 5.
You all played Northern Illinois last season. When you're in a situation like the one that you were, where you're kind of trying to, where it's a bit of a high wire act, you're trying to piece a lot of different things together in a compressed time frame. Did that familiarity with them help? Where you guys had played them in the past, where there was at least some level of connection there.
A little bit. I mean, that went into my decision making. I know they're a different team because they lost some guys, but they have a good core group back. We are somewhat familiar, for our team, with our youth. We're familiar a little bit with the style that they play. Had a chance to watch them and just figured for where we are right now that was the best opportunity for us.
Jeff. Go ahead, Jerry.
Talk a little bit about the freshmen and how they've adapted to the college basketball culture, both on and off the court.
Yeah, they've, they're getting better. They have a ways to go. Their freshman kind of indoctrination into college basketball is different from any freshman in the history of college basketball. And so they're dealing with that. They're at a critical time right now. This is the first time they've taken final exams, and trying to balance that with practice and everything that's going on and game preparation. They all have talent. We need them. But just like our whole team, we have a ways to go.
Jeff, do you have a better idea to your rotation, or there's still a lot of questions you need answered at this point?
Still some questions. I mean, we're 2 games in. That's really the only time we get a chance to fully see the rotations. And it's not like we've had, games where we've had these really big leads where we can look at different things. But we're still trying to figure it out. Everyone has an opportunity. Practice determines, for the most part, who earns the right to play, who earns minutes. I don't give minutes. Guys earn minutes.
Jeff, talking about those young guys, I mean, with so few games in this early part of the season, does that kind of give you more of an opportunity to take what a guy has done and put on film and maybe have more time to go in depth with him about it before you have to get ready to play another game?
I think we try to be smart and thoughtful what we do with film. Some guys, everyone's different. Guys process it different. Some guys need to be on the court to see it, to on the court instruction. They need one-on-one instruction. Some guys can see it on film and understand it. So we try to figure out what's best for each individual guy, what's the best way that they learn, and we try to use those methods to help them get better.
Jeff, you talked about last week and how, some of the struggles you guys were facing because you've been practicing a lot against yourself. Now you've had 2 games and you've had time to sort of evaluate that. Where have you guys placed your emphasis in practice and where you want to improve, or what are some of the biggest things you've seen that you guys are adjusting to after that? Defense and rebounding. That's the very first thing that we've tried to really emphasize, since we started back, but certainly since we've played these first 2 games. We have to be much better there than we've been in the first 2 games. And then our offensive execution, even though we scored 83 points last game, we still didn't shoot the ball from outside the 3-point line as well as I think we're capable of doing. But we have to be able to execute better and be able to step up and knock down shots.
Jeff, what do you think's led to Kaleb Ali's progression? So just experience. What do you like about how his game has progressed?
I thought he started to make a lot of progress last year towards the end of the year. He played really well in our first game in the ACC tournament. I do think becoming more comfortable with everything, and certainly this year as a sophomore, having the experience and having some success that he had towards the end of last year, I think that's helped him confidence-wise. And then, me understanding how to help him a little bit more. I think us as a coaching staff, understanding him as a player, understanding that, he's a guy that does some things in games that don't necessarily show up in practice. That's one of the things I learned about him last year that I've tried to do a better job with in coaching him.
Ithiel obviously came in with a pretty tough situation, having to sit out last year due to eligibility, and has struggled a little bit to get going offensively. What have you seen from him through the first 2 games and maybe in practice that we don't see as much?
What I've seen from him is a guy that's pressing, a guy that's nervous, a guy that really, really wants to do well. And if it doesn't go well for him right away, he's panicked. And I think we panicked. I think that's what happened in our first game. Ithiel's a good player. We just need him to relax and be a good player. Take open shots, be ready to shoot open shots, and then he has to do a better job of valuing the basketball and making better decisions with the ball.
Coach, did you expect Dees to be the way he is this year? He seems to be more demonstrative, more of a leader. He was a quiet guy before, and he's just doing everything out on the court. Did you see that coming?
I anticipated it. I was hopeful for it. Again, I thought the second part of the season last year, the conference season last year, I thought he started to make tremendous strides on the offensive side of the floor. I think he's always been a good defender. He's always played hard. He got up to a slow start last year, but he kept pushing, kept working. And the second part of the conference season, I thought he played really well. I think he's had a really good summer as far as improving some of the areas with his ball handling, decision-making, and shooting. I think he's gotten in good shape, and he's played really well in practice, which has carried over to games. He's been probably our most consistent guy in the practices and workouts that we've had.
Jeff, X had one of his best games of his career against Drexel after kind of struggling in the season opener against St. Francis. What was your message to him between those 2 games? And are you going to need him to be in attack mode offensively, at least in the beginning part of this season while other guys start to find their footing?
My message was just that, you have to play better. You have to, slow down a little bit. I think what happened with Xavier in the first game was he picked up those first 2 fouls. He was on the bench. He saw that we were struggling, and he came back in, and we were in full panic mode. And then he was just, I have to go. And some of his mistakes were made because he was just going too fast. He was pressing. I thought in the second game he did a much better job of allowing the game to come to him, picking his spots. He has 18 assists in the first 2 games, which is really, really good. 10 turnovers can be a lot better there. But I thought he did a much better job of changing speeds, picking his spots, and playing with confidence. And when he does that for us, we're a different team. He's a guy that can give guys confidence. He and Audis are 2 guys. They're older. They have experience. They've been through it. And we are going to need them to play well for us. We absolutely are going to need them to play well.
Jeff, you last year you guys had a really strong defensive game against NIU. Now you guys got them again. I know that you talked before about the needing to improve on defense. What are some of the things you're looking for to see better from your team in this game to rebound from the past couple of weeks defensively?
Yeah, we have to do a much better job of containing dribble penetration. Individual one-on-one defense, but knowing that it's our team that's defending. It's not just one person. We have to be in gaps. Our talk has to be better. Our ball screen coverage has to be more connected. We have to be better there. Our defensive rebounding has to be better. Our post defense has to be better. We just have to do a much better job. We have to understand how hard it is. And, it's not for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. It has to be for 40 minutes. It has to be every second out there. Our transition defense has to be better. And again, if we're able to get to the point where we talk more, we communicate more, we're more demanding, we're holding each other accountable, then we'll start to make the necessary strides we need to become a better team.
Coach, what kind of challenges do you see Northern Illinois presenting for you guys on Saturday?
Well, I've watched their first 2 games, and, they had a big lead against UIC in the first game. And then UIC was able to come back. They're a team that they can really, really drive the ball. They can put 4 guards out there, and they spread the floor. They drive it. They can put you in ball screens. They get out in transition. They have multiple guys. So it's going to be imperative for us defensively to do a good job of containing the basketball, trying to keep them out of our paint. And then offensively, we have to execute. We have to screen, our spacing, our timing. All of that has to be better. And then we have to be able to make shots. We have to be able, when we get good shots, good looks, we have to be able to step up and make them.
Based on what you've seen in the first 2 games, and I guess, probably more so over the couple months before then, based on what you saw from him in that time, do you feel like X is a more mature player now? Because we had talked to him a lot about how last season mentally there were a lot of things on his mind that seemed to impact him on the court. Does he seem to do a better job now of kind of making that kind of a separation, where he doesn't allow that to impact his game in the same ways?
I think so. I think, with time and with age, you become mature, more importantly with experience. He's had a lot of experiences here in his time at Pitt. He had an outstanding individual freshman year, a historic, freshman year here at the University of Pittsburgh. And he came back and there were a lot of expectations on him in particular as a sophomore, as a second-year guy. And probably for the first time, it's the first time he's dealt with expectations on that level. It's different when you have a guy that's an elite prospect and, from the time he's younger, they're used to it. They get to a point where they're used to it. As the stage gets bigger, the spotlight and expectations maybe become a tad bit bigger, but they're used to having to carry that responsibility. For Xavier, it was all new. And I thought the pressure and the expectations got to him a little bit last year. I think he's learned from that. And I think he's been able to come back and to be that same hungry guy that he was when he first got here. And I think with all the experiences that he's had, the success, the not playing well, the great things written and said about you to not great things written and said about you, I think he's learned how to deal and how to handle it all. And that's a testament to him, his family, and the people that he has around him. And him, mainly him.